Hey guys, Taylor with Podium here. Today I wanted to quickly walk you through exactly what Podium is, why I built it, and why it's important for endurance athletes like ourselves. So effectively, what Podium is it is an endurance fueling coach, meaning it helps you understand based off of your weeks of training what the fueling requirements for each of those activities going to be, both in terms of the carbs and the sodiums you need to sustain yourself during that intra activity. The reason I made this right is because for training for a marathon, something that I quickly came to understand was the importance of your intra activity fueling, especially for those long runs that can be between 1 and 4 hours. And something I didn't know starting out was gels, sodium, taking all that stuff and the importance of it. And so I built Podium as kind of just a tool for myself to understand what I needed to be taking and then a way to log that. And so we can get into kind of a demonstration what that is right now. Keep in mind, this is on the computer, but it is built for the iPhone. Right, so everything starts out in the plan tab. So if we go to last week, here you can see I have all Monday through Sunday scheduled out here. So right, Monday, right, that was simply a rest day, nothing to do there. Backing up, again, something that you can quickly see is which of those activities is going to require fueling and which one is not. As a general rule of thumb, right, anything over an hour is going to require some kind of fueling. And so going to Wednesday as an example, right? Edit workout, this little moto pops up. You just put your start time, the sport type, right? That's either running, cycling, swimming, something like that. The expected conditions. This is automated for you. Really, the only thing you have to do is you have to input how long you're working out for and what the intensity is going to be of that. So this past Wednesday, I worked out for an hour. I had bridge repeats, right, which is just running over this massive bridge over and back. So that really can get your heart rate up there. Hence why it was zone 3 tempo run. And then that tells me, right, I'm going to need 25 grams of carbs, 400 milligrams of sodium for that workout. And then, oppose that to say we go to Sunday, which was my 2 hour long run. That was going to require 90 grams of carbs and 1,300 milligrams of sodium. Keep in mind, we'll get to your performance profile in a second, but that's where you can tailor it to your body weight, your sweat rate, and what your desired carb intake per hour is. And obviously, that is going to then dictate what your fueling plan is. And then the actual utility of the app here comes on the Today tab, right? You go to your specific workout, the date. So I'm going to go this past Saturday. You can see I need um, 25 grams of carbs, 400 milligrams of sodium. So what you're going to do is you're going to come down to your fuel pack. And so in bottle one, right, because we have bottles, I'm going to input, right, just a half an element packet, right, because there's roughly 500 milligrams of sodium. So you'll see that is fine. I'm at 125% of my goal, which is okay. We have kind of logic built in here to where if you get too high above your goal, then you start to introduce risk into the training session. So as an example, if I do 6 of those, then I'm at 875%, and that is an issue. So, and then there's moto pop up, right? Excess sodium, all that good stuff. It actually cause dehydration. So that's why we have those warnings there to make sure you're all good to go. But, right, we're just going to come back here and knock that back down to 1 real quick. And then, right, in terms of your carbs, we offer flexibility between if you want to ingest that all through your bottle, gels and chews, or you can either do bars or real food, especially important, right? If you're riding, if you're cycling as opposed to running, you're probably going to favor more gels and chews. But anyways, I like gels, so I'm going to come here in my favorite section, just blank sports nutrition hydrogel. So there's 25 grams of carbs in a serving. So I'm just going to plug one of those. And then you can see that all of my requirements are met for this workout. The other useful thing about Podium is it kind of takes the thought process out of it for you. So in terms of your fueling alerts, we help you understand when you should be taking this fuel. So in terms of, right, your kind of sodium intake via liquid, you just need to do that every 10 to 15 minutes, something called the pulsing technique. Reason for that is because that kind of reduces the risk of GI distress. And that's really the whole point of everything that we're doing here is, A, especially if you're in your training block, you need to be training your gut to handle this intrafueling need. So when it comes race day, you've done all the work, and now you can just let your body perform. And then, right, in terms of the timed events, this is going to specifically tell you when you need to be taking each of those gels. And seeing how you can see that manifest through different workouts, right? This was last Sunday. This was my 2 hour run. So I needed 90 grams versus 25 we just saw. And so again, it's going to take that into account. It's going to kind of schedule out when each of those servings of carbs I'm going to take. A couple other things I wanted to note for you real quick. Obviously, if you're having more than one bottle, you can add those bottles. You can add, right, whatever you want to the bottle. We do have kind of a pre-programmed list of a bunch of different, either drink mixes, or if we go to the gels and chews, a ton of different products here that you can pick from. Then you also have the ability to add your own products as well. Or if you just email me and tell me, I can put it into the app for you as well. But yeah, that's kind of Podium in a nutshell, right? This is really just first shot of the app. So if you're interested in beta testing it, let me know. Would love to get more product feedback from, endurance athletes that are actually doing it. So I'm right in the middle of a training block for the Clearwater 50K in January. So I'm obviously using this thing every day, making sure that I'm fueling the way that I need to. A couple other things I forgot to hit on. So when you're done with the workout, right, you can log your workout, how long you ran for, the distance, all of your carbs and sodium that you actually consume, so you can understand what the plan was and if you achieved that plan or not. And then, right, you can kind of take notes on how did your actual workout go. Because the importance of that is that then feeds into this logbook tab, which I understand it's kind of hard to see right now on the computer. Obviously, a lot more visual on the on your iPhone, which is what it built for. But right, we have this compliance table down here, so you can quickly see, right, kind of where your off days were, where your training days were, and then your compliance with that training. Because right, you can see this little faded green means, right, I wasn't very compliant, meaning I didn't take all the carbs, all the sodium that I needed to. And then here, right, kind of a look back, it says, right, we actually completed one workout in fueling compliance of 4%. That was just some random workout I probably just inputted data on, but there you can see I just edited it, and I just put one in there as well. Right, this was just saying that I was compliant with that, and then going back here, right, to the two green dots, which is the actual days that I worked out, and then feeling compliance of 100%. So all that to say, this helps you understand kind of what you actually need, and then it's kind of tracking what your compliance is over your training block. And just to round it out, right, if you go to your performance profile, this is where you can, kind of say what your sweat rate is, what your nutritional targets are, right, between running carbs, cycling carbs. Obviously, you can take more carbs when you're cycling because there's not as much distress on your gut when you're in that stationary position versus, right, you're running, bouncing up and down, all that good stuff. Then a couple other things, right? Like, there's a shoe tracker I'm getting in there, right? Just because it's important, right? If you're running, to understand how many miles on your shoes are, because you don't want to be running too many miles in that shoes, or that's where you start to introduce the risk of injury. The last thing probably to note is right now I don't have this connected to any third-party apps, so things Strava, Coros, Training Peaks, all that good stuff. But I made it very easy for you guys to input those training sessions, because I know that's probably a friction point, is you don't want to input all this stuff. But I've done two easy things. One is that I've made it so, no, that's clear. So you can copy your prior week's workouts, right? Because generally in a training block, kind of your week over week is going to be fairly similar in terms of the days. Maybe just the intensity or the duration is going to change. And so that's the only two inputs you have to put in here, is what the duration and then what the intensity is going to be. And from there, Podium really takes over. So you probably got to invest, 2 to 5 minutes kind of inputting your first initial week. And then after that, each subsequent week, you can just copy the prior week and really just make those quick updates as needed. So that's all I got for you guys today. Hopefully you found some, interest in Podium. If you do have an interest in trying this, I'm going to leave my email in the description of this video below, and you guys can feel free to email me or put a comment in the description, or just leave me a comment, and I'm more than happy to reach out to you directly as well. So with that, really appreciate the time. We'll talk to y'all later.